Hey everybody, welcome back. This is a special video for Strategy Club, and of course we're going to look at the top 10 for the Kryptonite Show Index, and we're going to have a look at some of the pros and cons and why they're in the overall list. So we've got 10 in here. So I thought that the top 10 is basically like an index, and generally what I call more Richard Hart core coins or blue chips, and there is a couple in here that are riskier, so they've got a bit of risk component as well, and of course a bit of risk reward play relative to the Richard Hart core coins like Pulse, for example. So we're gonna have a quick look at it. Obviously, Pulse Chain is down at the moment, not really moving too much, and so we've got a lot of the leverage plays just slightly off the market at the moment. So we can see at the top there we've got INC down 3%, and down the bottom there we've got X Game. They are down 10.6% at the moment, which had been holding up relatively well. Now, obviously, it's a leverage play, and so we're going to get into all that. So we're going to go through one by one through the different tickers that are in the list there. I'm going to talk as basically an overview about the pros and cons of these, and I may in the future look at a deep dive into each one of them. Now, one of these I may even replace. This list has been pretty solid for several months, but one of them I might actually replace, and I'll talk about that in the future. So we're not going to talk about Pulse today. It's really the top 10, and we can see that we've got Pulse X in here at the moment. So these are weekly charts, just to give you a quick summary of where it's all going since since Pulse Chain launched. You can see that at the moment Pulse Chain market cap's about 5.37 billion, including all the Pulse. Now, Pulse X there's about 19.6 trillion tokens in existence. We've burnt through about 1.5 trillion so far. So that's about 7.62%. So that gives you some of the backdrop around the buy and burn impacts. And of course, we just had the Unity project launch today, which has already burnt 770 million PulseX. So the run rate for that's pretty huge for this year, in addition to the PulseX buy and burn. So it's pretty good on the buy and burn. And obviously, as volumes increase, we should see an overall increase in the buy and burn as well. So I think we're going to have a lot of fun here with PulseX, and of course all the third-party applications that launch on it also do supply syncs for solid for PulseX also. So it's going to be pretty good. Just add to the upward pressure in price. PulseX, of course, is the number one DEX on Pulse Chain, and therefore it gets re-rated a lot. So that is kind of where we are with PulseX. Now, the thing I want to look at is the ratio to Pulse, and we can see that with PulseX, you're really getting a leverage play on Pulse Chain. So it's really hard to argue why you would even keep Pulse, relatively speaking. Obviously, you need Pulse to use in other applications, so that would be one argument. But in terms of PulseX, you currently got it at 0.75 at the moment. So that is the current ratio. And you can see essentially on the weekly chart here, we've basically got this nice, beautiful uptrend, right? So let me just draw a line here. We've basically got a nice, beautiful uptrend, and we're going to just take it from these lines here. So the reason why I want to keep it here, and we're going to make it orange, actually, because, I like color. So orange there, and we can see we already tested it a few times. We're currently testing it right now. But essentially, a Pulse Chain itself, so PLS it can be inflationary. It's got EIP 159 upgrades where you get a block reward and you get fees burned. Obviously, the same as Ethereum. And so we, generally speaking, get a slight inflation as they get rewards. The validators get rewards. Validators, often a certain amount of the validators can be sell pressure too, as they get those rewards as well. So you got a bit of ebbs and flows going there. But PulseX is basically completely deflationary. As I said, it was sitting around about 21 trillion, now down about 19.6 trillion with the buy and burn. So you can see it's just onwards and upwards for PulseX. So even though we're testing this upward trend, we may very well see it just go up and up and up to the right. So that's very important as we move forward. So pretty excited about PulseX, kind of the obvious one in your bag as well. Now the other one, of course, is INC token. INC token, of course, is relatively scarce as well. So it's got a nice scarce narrative. But as you guys know, we know that SolidX list here for INC token. Now, obviously, Richard Hart earlier this year has lowered the incentive token yield dramatically, well over 20x. And of course, we're looking at an emission rate of about 0.03 ink per day, which is about 2,600 ink per year, which is next to nothing, right? So it's a very small amount of supply. I think it's around 55 million. And so this could be really, really exciting. Now, in Pulse X, of course, there is a contract called the Master Chef contract, and that has a little note saying that, once maturity is reached in Pulse X and Pulse Chain, that basically the keys would be handed over potentially to a DAO, right? And so the incentive token may be the token of choice for that. So we shall see what the use cases are moving forward. Now, obviously, with Pulse and the Ink token, Richard Hart could have a number of protocols that could use these tokens also. So we'll see where that all heads up as well. He's kind of teased wallets and, of course, teased bridges and things like that. Obviously, we've had the new launch of Liberty Swap, and we've got more bridges coming, basically opening us up to 150 bridges, which is pretty exciting. So Ink token relatively scarce and sitting at $1.88 right now. We do see it can move sometimes quite nicely. Over the last sort of 30 days, 90 days, I think it's relatively underperformed compared to Pulse, Hex, and Pulse. But I think we could see a pretty good move at that on some stage. So we'll have to keep a lookout for that. So that is the Ink token right now. Looking at the ratio to Pulse, which is always important to do, you can see we have been riding down in the ratio to Pulse, so you're better off keeping Pulse. It was at 65,800, scrolling down there, rolling down there to 37,800. But we could see a return upwards. We've seen a couple of those recently here back in February and June this year. So we've seen that twice. We're at the bottom of the range, so we may very well see this again. So that could be a nice little move. We're picking up Ink right now, right? So that is the play. Now, I haven't got RSIs on here, which gives you a good idea whether it's oversold or overbought. But we're, like I say, we're just doing a quick overview here. Moving on to Hex. Hex is on the list, right? So Hex, of course, we're going to have a look at the weekly here. Thought I had this set up, but apparently I didn't. And we're going to have a look at Hex. Now, Hex, I think, is looking fantastic. So Hex, let's look at the US dollar price here on the weekly. This is Hex on Pulse Chain, of course. And I think Hex on Ethereum's also great. Hex on Ethereum, of course, is at the bottom of the range relative to Pulse, Hex on Pulse. So EHEX has been a good pickup as well. But at the moment, you can see in the last week, we've pulled down. We're up at, one hex equals 0.013 US cents, so 1.3 cents. And we're at 1 cent right now. Now, I think once we break 3 cents, there's kind of a W pattern in here. Once it sort of finishes out all the stuff, we could end up seeing a pretty big move in Hex, of course. So keep a lookout for that. Now, Hex relative to Pulse, of course, as a leverage play, just like Pulse X and Ink, as one of the 4 core coins. We could see this also on the moves. At the moment, you can see that's come all the way down. So last time we had a little pump here, and we had 2-3 weeks in a row of a pump in Hex back in July. We got all the way up to 302, right? And then we had the sell-off probably on the post the news of beating the SEC on the 7th of July. And of course, we've come down to test the middle of the range here, 219 pulse per hex. But I think once we really get a move on here on hex, we're going to see this really rally, and we'll start to see more things like this that we saw in September last year, or leading all the way into November. So keep a lookout for that for the end of this year. We also got a higher low, if you can see there as well. So I think Hex is looking pretty good. We also saw not only incentive token get inflation cut, but we also saw the inflation cut by Richard Hart and the OA wallets with Hex staking, right? So we saw these Hex staking ladders on both ETH and Pulse Chain. And basically we had something like 660 billion Hex, and we went all the way down to, I think, something like 45 billion. And that's with all the OA accounts staking. And that's dramatically lowered the Hex payouts from about 7.5 Hex per T-share down to about 1.5. So yeah, that's hit people that are staking quite hard. Or not, obviously not people up to this point, because they're getting really good Hex per T-share payouts. But in terms of lowering the future inflation, and it had to be done. We knew it was going to be done, and it was done, and so that's good. Now, what's the offset? The offset is, of course, with lower inflation, you got a better chance of getting a price run, especially as Pulse Chain runs, and of course, arguably less dumpability. Now, we know that Hex, of course, launched on the 3rd of December, 3rd December 2019, and so when we come to 2029, we know that we've got a lot of 10-year Hex stakes coming out there. And then, of course, beyond that, which is, I think, was 3,650 days. And then beyond that, we've got the 15-year stakes, which come out, in 34 three or four there, yeah. So 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34. Yeah, so 34. And we know that out the back end of the Hex Stakes, we've got the Hex Goldwell coming out first, and then we've got the Maximus Dow coming out. Those are the two big heavyweights holding a lot of Hex. And of course, leading into that ladder now, we've also got the OA accounts with massive, massive stakes. So that's kind of the lay of the land there, right, for Hex right now. So Hex is actually looking pretty good. Now, if you want to get a deeper dive into Hex, I'd strongly suggest you watch Crispy Man. He kind of does the high and analytical side of Hex if you want to get a good background there. Crispy Man there on the YouTube and on X. So that's kind of the play for Hex. So Hex, I think, is looking amazing. We've seen big calls of multiple dollar hexes, and we obviously beat out the previous high from the last bull market in 2021 of about 56 cents or 52, depending on which exchange you're looking at. So yeah, 10,000 X it was one of the top 5 coins in the last season, and of course that was around about October 2021. So let's see what we can get moving forward. Obviously, years later, 4 years later, we're going to get something that breaks the 52 and moves on into the multiple dollars. Now, obviously, with the ETH Pulse Chain Sacrifice Reserve, if ETH goes up to 15,000, 30,000, etc., then there's tons of money to pump in the chain, and they could easily do it, right? Easily go into tens of dollars and beyond. It really is crazy how high the market could go. So that's kind of the play with Hex right now. So that's why they're all in there, all Richard Hart coins, of course, and Richard will pump the chain, and of course, all related to Hart's Law. Let's jump into SolidX. Now, we're moving away from Richard Hart, and of course, we're moving into one of the two public whales, which is Fire Whale, of course, a well-known public. Recently did a live stream on RH Max, and I posted that in the Strategy Club, so you can check that out. It's got a lot of secret sauce, particularly at the end in the last 15 minutes. And we can see at the moment it's $12.20, so it's a really good value. We saw in the beginning, the first 10 days, he was buying this up like a dream man. Now he started off back in the day, he had about $70 million, I think, on Pulse Chain at the beginning. Now he's probably in the 20 mil, 25 mil range, somewhere in there, probably, I guess. And so yeah, he's that's kind of where he is with his portfolio, based on an interview he did about 3 months ago. Now you could see that we actually launched the price at a 1/10 of a penny here, and then it rallied all the way to $265. Yes, I'm not kidding you. That's what it did. We watched it in the Discord too. And here it is after all that time. It reached the bottom over here on the 17th of March, and that was $4.82. We're now at $12.20. Now, obviously, this is in here because this is a fire whale strategy, so it's a strategy of a whales, and we can see that he's going to be launching a full range. Well, let's say a big decentralized crypto casino with a massive referral, 30% referral on it. And of course, that's going to be very attractive to influencers, not only on Pulse Chain, but on multiple chains, in particular, chains like Base Chain and potentially other chains as well. So keep a lookout for that. He also has a big marketing budget and, of course, lots of connections with the founders of some of the chains and other big influencers. So it's going to be pretty huge. Not only are we expecting the big decentralized crypto casino, it's also going to have a license. So pretty neat. And as I understand it, he already runs casinos. So this is going to be pretty massive. I think the X game is quite visual. It's a version of Crash, if you've seen Crash before, and they're going to have probably at least 4 games and probably hit at least 3 or 4 chains, pretty close to it. Now, on top of that, of course, they're going to have SolidX staking, and also from a lot of the revenue that happens across multiple chains, they'll end up buying and burning SolidX off the market. So it's really going to help supercharge it as well. So you can start to see this could be our first big viral protocol on Pulse Chain. So that's the background, general overview background. And so we're pretty excited about where this might go. So at the moment, $12.20. He's talked about $100 straight out of the mark, probably a re-rate on the launches. We shall see. But he's also talked about $1,000 price target towards the end of the market as well. So we'll see how it all plays out. But I'm pretty bullish about it. And I think as a whale strategy, it's worth being in our top 10. Now, associated to that, of course, is X Game. X Game has a relatively smaller amount of tokens. So you can actually become a pretty big holder, a shark or a whale, quite easily. And so this might say something that's attractive to you. And of course, with the thinner liquidity and thinner smaller supply of tokens, you could actually become pretty heavyweight in this. Like I said, if SolidX launches an X game and decentralized casino launches and successful, this could go up to the right pretty aggressively. And so even though it's at 2,800 of a penny, we could see some pretty big numbers on this. So once again, those two kind of go together, the SolidX and X game. SolidX, of course, will get the burning, buy and burning, and X game will get the kind of the brand in the game, upside there in association. That's kind of the lay of the land there. Now, X game, maybe after a couple of months, you could possibly pull it out of the index, and depending on how the performance is going. But certainly, you would expect some pretty exciting stuff in a couple of months after launch, plus with the bull market in front of us. So that's kind of the play. And so, yeah, just in the background, you've always got to think about what Richard Hart is doing. Of course, lifting all boats, and that's a key thing. And of course, if these boats are riding that big wave, then it's even a bigger deal. Now, the other one, of course, about Solidex is our first big corporate on Pulse and of course, this is solid. This is soil token, Sun Mini Meal. This is a rising food, giant in Europe. They currently last year they did about 82 million euros, which is about 92 million USD. And of course, this year they're predicted to target another 250 million euros. So really big growth. The end of last year, the second half of the year, they got a 435% growth rate. And of course, that's exciting. They've already doubling their plant production. I think they've had a few little issues getting it online, but I think they're going to pretty much get there. And apparently, they've already sold out their production. So their growth is looking very aggressive. As you guys know, early companies, even with billionaire backers, still have a teething, growing pains. So you've got to be patient with them. 2 more weeks, as they say. But we are expecting a lot of updates, in August, September, October, and we had an update about 3 days ago from the chief executive, and of course, they've got the upcoming Floyn listing coming up. So you got to be patient with this one. Now, obviously, the big bonus about this is that they're going to use 20% of their net sales, which is pretty exciting. It's about $16 million based on last year. And of course, they've been starting that since the beginning of this year, the 1st of January. I suggest to you that they've probably got about $8 to $10 million in their kitty. And of course, it's a managed buy and burn. So, they can manipulate the chart anytime they want on Soul Token. But also, they gave out a lot of the tokens, not for free, you would say, but essentially free to Reward 1.0 program members of the Sun Mini Meal. Now, they've also got a Reward 2.0 program starting. So not only will we get the 20% of the buy and burn, that's around $60 million. And of course, if they go from 82 million euros to quarter of 250 million euros in the first year, and of course they're targeting year 5, 5 billion euros. So they're really looking at growth, and they're going to move out of Europe and move into the United States and around the world. So lots of big things to happen. So you're going to share the journey. The founder is Wolfgang. He wants to make this the next Bitcoin. And with this model, I think it's a very, very good idea. So, 20% net sales. And also, they're going to be upgrading the dashboards for their clients so that their clients can go and buy their products, which is a superfood, without and use Soul Token to do it. So that means buying on the market and using that as well. So we could get massive amount of customers buying on the market here, and of course their growth numbers are going up and up all the time. So this could be really mega huge. That's why Soil Sun Mini Meal is on the list. Now, obviously, I'm going to continue to give you updates about this, but that's kind of a general overview, and we are expecting more news with the Floyd listing, which is a high-profile customer group, so it's not just a normal retail, coming up in the near future. So we'll keep tabs on that. And, of course, more about the production doubling and, of course, their big marketing expansion as well and promotions. And obviously, they're going to pull the trigger on the buy and burn kitty or treasury when they feel like they want to. Now, at the moment, with the price lower, they kind of burn more tokens, right? So the run rate at the moment is about 1.1% burn rate for the year, but I suggest you they're probably going to ramp that up a bit. So we'll see how all that leads, and of course bring all that demand from the corporate buy and burn and also from their customers. So it could be pretty huge. Now they're looking at adding hundreds of millions of potential customers in their target. Obviously, they're going to convert a certain amount of that, let's say 1%, 2%, 5%, whatever it's going to be. But they've got pretty big partnerships lined up. So this could be mega huge for Pulse Chain and one of the magic carpet rides, as I say. Now, the other one, big one, of course, is moving to DEXs. We've got Proteus, which is a DEX aggregator. So they aggregate all the DEXs on Pulse Chain. They pretty much do a dominant amount of volume, I think something like 70% or something. And they route pretty much all the projects. And so, this is pretty huge. And, this could end up, when we go on to bull run, this DEX aggregator could get re-rated. It's kind of a pretty conservative play. And so, yeah, we'll see how that goes. But that's the idea, since they're routing, most of the volume through. And of course, they've got their second protocol coming up with the whole AI component, which is going to add huge value to traders and the retail book. So we'll look forward to that. So that's kind of where the product is at the moment. On Proteus, we look at the weekly chart. That's the daily. Then we can see that it's right down at the bottom right now. So let's see where this goes. Really not getting priced in right now, as we can see, but you can see the volatility has been pretty huge. But I suggest you, as we move into the bull market, PTS will suddenly get re-rated. That's what I'm expecting now. Now, the other bit, of course, is similar to PTS, which is not DEX aggregator, but time dividend, which is the wallet, the Pulse Chain's native wallet from KG. This here is basically like a DEX, right? So they have swapping on their wallet, and a share of the fees go to people holding the time token. So as you can see, the chart looks pretty good, doesn't it? So at the top of the range, it looks like it's ready to break away, and is on the weekly chart too. So we're currently at 0.4 of a penny right now. The previous high was back here in February 24, and that was 56 hundredth of a penny. So I think there's a lot of potential upside for this. So yeah, pretty huge, and we can see the market cap right now, $8 million. So I think this is probably going to do pretty well. And if you check out the website, you'll be able to see some of the revenue that's earned so far and the yield that they're earning, which is a pretty good, blue chip kind of yield. And that will only go up with the bull market. So that is pretty much time dividend. Then we've got PDC, which is the first DAO on Pulse Chain. Now this had a local rally, as you can see, had a huge rally, and has come back at the moment with proper taking, and of course Pulse Chain's down after that little rally. So it's also coming back on that too. So we're currently at 000 right now. So that's kind of the mark there, coming back in the support, probably support around 55. So we're not too far away from that. And we'll see how it goes. But this, of course, is the first DAO, and it's got a massive amount of influencers and supporters behind it as the principal DAO token. So we'll see how it goes. It has locking and staking into it as well. And of course, the cheaper you can get into that, the better, right? So right now, kind of a cheaper entry there at the moment. So that is the PGC, the Greys. So obviously backed by, X unique on Pulse Chain. And yeah, we're going to see how it does. This is the one token that I may end up replacing. But if they are successful, they have trading incentives to try and get up to $1. Rackle Michelle, the big whale, of course, is also invested in this one. But we will see how it goes. I think he's the top holder, at least he was. So we'll see how it goes. So far, not performing overly well. 0.3 of a penny. This big green candle that you see back here in April was when they were shutting down the PDI maker contract, or at least largely shutting it down and taking all that PDI and buying up XUSD with it, right? So they're basically dumping it into Pulse and buying up their own token, XUSD, and we got this big pump. So if you're wondering why that pump is there. So we'll see how it goes. Can they go head toward a dollar and get some bonus? It is kind of the most riskier in some ways. I guess X Game would probably be the other one that's maybe on the riskier side. But of course, we've got that launch is expected to come up very, very soon. So just to recap, Solid X, we're expecting the launch to come up in September. Could be pretty huge. And so 4 to 6 weeks was what was given last week from Firewhale, and of course that's exciting. And with regards to XUSD, I might actually switch this one out, and I've got a couple of candidates that may put in there. So we'll see how it goes. Now, obviously, these things can turn around pretty quickly on a bull market. Maybe those trading incentives do work, but at this stage, not performing particularly well. We know that some of the team have just launched Better Bank, which is Nikki on the team, and that has done a 21 million TVL, or total value lock, within about less than two weeks. So that's been pretty exciting for that team. So once again, there's a whole ton of trading pools, of course, with the USD and other tokens. But that's kind of the main token right now. So the markets are all kind of down, but you do generally see that these kind of don't generally go down too hard, and of course can get the upside as well. So we got Richard Hart doing promotions within the next what I would say within the next week. And so that could really start lifting things as well. So keep a eye out on this. So yeah, I think it's a pretty good reward to ratio balance, and could see some exciting stuff. And like I say, I'll keep tabs on XUSD, and if I do decide to swap out a token for that, and I've got a couple of candidates if I do. And of course, this is kind of going from having some conservative with a lot of upside to a bit more riskier with a lot of upside, but also trying to get balance there as well. So your portfolio's not moving around too much if you did decide to pick up some of these tokens. Now, obviously, nothing is financial advice. Remember that. Do your own due diligence. But this is really to help guide you with some of the stuff that I think is doing pretty well. All right, hope you enjoyed that one, and leave your comments below, and I look forward to maybe doing deeper dives moving forward. All right, hope you enjoyed it. Bye for now.